I'll be watching to see if more of my signals flip back to bearish. I have mixed signals. Some are bearish, some are bullish. But if we start closing below the 50 period today, again, we'll see more signals turn bearish. Other signals have already turned bearish. We had warning signs with the shift in momentum telling us we're either going to get a pullback or reversal. Told you we still might try to reach the trend line, get above the 38.2 Fibonacci. But again, if we close back below the 50, we start seeing all the signals turn back to bearish. Joining the one we got here, then that could be all she wrote at 66,900. Again, the rally is going to fail. Even if we go higher, the rally is going to fail. We're going to take out 57,000. 57,000 is not the bottom. I've already had signals turn back to bearish. Signals have remained bullish, and now taking out the 50 period as we're doing right now, they're at risk of changing, turning more signals bearish today and over the weekend. Again, we had these momentum warning signs at the peak here at 66,000. We got rejection at the midpoint, and now we're trying to take out the 50 period moving average today. Again, we see escalation over the weekend. If we, by the time the stock market closes, which closing shortly, if we see escalation later today on Friday evening, if they resume full-fledged military combat operations and escalate it, maybe take Karg Island and some other important things to collapse the Iranian regime, which is going to eventually happen. They're eventually going to do things to try to collapse a regime because, again, they're not going to make a deal. There's not going to be a peace deal. Unless Iran gets into such a weakened state, they cooperate. We're not there yet, as I've said. Hopefully, rather than a deal, the Iranian regime will collapse and the good Iranian people can take back their country. And that would create peace in the Middle East. We've seen several of my signals turn back to bearish after we had the peak at 66,000. I told you if we take out the 50, then that will likely mark a peak. If we bounce up the 50, we might go above the 38.2 Fibonacci at 67,000. But now the signals that have been holding bullish, and they've been mixed because we've been going sideways, they're now starting to turn bearish as we're trying to take out the 50 period moving average. All of them are there, but some are now turning back to bearish, as you can see right here. The final print will not be until the close. The signals are trying to turn back to bearish. So if we do that, close below the 50, and we see these signals turn back to bearish today, the ones that have been bullish, and we see many of them turn back to bearish on Friday. Again, we could be done with the counter trend and be on our way down lower to take out 57,000. Again, if we see the U.S. step up the military campaign in Iran, which is going to happen, it is coming, could come as soon as today or this weekend. They've already resumed combat operations. They're going to escalate it, step up the military campaign, strike oil and gas sites. Iran is going to strike their neighbors, hitting oil infrastructure, and we could see crude oil surge. It could happen as soon as today, as soon as this weekend. This could create a major sell-off. The stock market and Bitcoin here getting yet another sharp decline. We're seeing signals turn back to bearish. We got warning signs of a pullback or a complete reversal. We're seeing signals turn back to bearish. Here we see bars turning back to red. If we go down further, again, we're going to start seeing signals turn. We're already seeing it with other signals. But I'm getting several signals that are turning today. Other signals have already turned as we've gone sideways. So again, counter trend, if they close out that way and we close below the 50 period, the green line right there, then the counter trend could be done. 66,900. And I've already had other signals already turn bearish, as I've talked so much about. Other signals are turning bearish today. Others have already turned bearish. We saw the rising wedge break down. We had warning signals. Here the bars have turned bearish. Tried to flip it back to bullish yesterday, but it's right now failing with the minor signal there. But had these warning signs going into the peak in the rising wedge. I told you the only way we go higher is if it evolves into a bear flag, a larger bear flag pattern. Well, we had several warning signs at the 66,900 peak telling us that we are either going to get a pullback or get a reversal. So we're seeing signals, some signals now trying to change today. Other signals already have. There are a couple of holdouts still, but again, things escalate between the U.S. and Iran over the weekend, some type of larger invasion or at least taking back of the oil depot at Karg Island, or a more aggressive campaign beginning than Epic Fury, which is what was saying. And he's meeting at Camp David today with his advisors, with his cabinet, decide what to do. They just want to get this out of the way here in August, try to bring oil back down ahead of the midterm elections. I think Trump made a mistake. He should have did this 4 months ago. He should have never tried to negotiate with Iran. He was going to get nowhere. That's what I've been saying for the last 4 months. Okay, Bitcoin down. Bitcoin down after MicroStrategy reported earnings on Thursday. After the bell, they reported a 8.3 billion unrealized Bitcoin loss. And MicroStrategy stock price is falling, and so is Bitcoin. I've done many videos about MicroStrategy, and my predictions about MicroStrategy or strategy, I should say, as they're called now, and their Bitcoin model is playing out. It's coming true. And I've talked to you about this before the market topped, before Bitcoin topped in October of 2025. I talked to you about it after. Did some recent updates not too long back. Mr. Never Sell Your Bitcoin started selling his Bitcoin because I predicted that would happen, and it did. Now, Bitcoin was down about 3% at the lows. It's trying to rebound at the moment, but Bitcoin is sliding as strategy plans up to 5 billion in crypto sales. Mr. Never Sell Your Bitcoin is planning on selling more Bitcoin because their Bitcoin model is broken. And I told you this was going to happen. I still think there's a possibility that there could be a black swan event surrounding my strategy, because Bitcoin is probably going a whole lot lower. We already have massive unrealized losses. And as I predicted, this would begin to unravel. It's now unraveling. The people that told us we were going to 200 and 250,000 back at the top when I was talking about all this stuff, and as we peaked and then began to sell off, talked about it more, laughed at, mocked, told I was a clown, but yet, oh gee, I was right. And their preferred stock, STRC, their little piggy bank to buy more Bitcoin, is now creating a boatload of problems for them. They've been having to sell Bitcoin to pay the dividend. So strategy earnings are a mess. Bitcoin model is imploding, and they're planning to sell more Bitcoin. All the things I warned you about. I was shouted down by people. Whenever I talked about this, social media, I'd have to listen to a lot of foolish talk from the Michael Saylor cheerleaders. We're going, oh, strategy's buying, all the way down. Strategy's buying, they're the biggest whale. I told you, they bought the last top too. In the bear market, before the bear market in 2022, they bought the top. They're perma bulls. They like to buy tops, like to buy the counter trends, the lower highs it's set up, the downtrend. That's why their Bitcoin model is broken, exactly as I told you. Everything that I told you about strategy is playing out. And I still think there's a strong possibility there could be a black swan event with all of this, because Bitcoin's going to collapse. And when it does, they're going to have even bigger unrealized losses. They're going to have to sell more Bitcoin. They're going to have more problems with their whole Bitcoin model, their preferred stock, and all the rest of it. Their whole Bitcoin model is broken, as I've continued to criticize. Please support the channel. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like my chart, if you like my indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel. Just put it all out there for free and ask that you do what you can to help out, rather than get sponsors and sell you something or send you to some exchange that wants to get you all leveraged up to wipe you out. I use leverage, but I know what I'm doing. And again, a lot of people, a lot of newbies get over leveraged and they get wiped out. And again, taken advantage of by a lot of these exchanges. Again, I just ask that you do what you can to help out rather than deal with all that. I need to hear from you. Let me know that you want this information and you like this information. I'll link below to take you to a secured site and you can donate any amount you want. Please take a moment to do that. Please let me know you want this information. If you've supported the channel recently, I want to thank you for doing that. If you haven't done that yet, I need to hear from you. Take a moment and partner with me. Anything helps. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. So I have to justify, putting all the time into doing this. So please let me know you want this information. I thank you for your consideration for that. Follow the link at the end of the route or at the end of the video, and take a moment today and support the channel. Now, if the wave 2 is done here at 66,900, then again, we could be breaking down here. We'll be watching. We close under the 50 period. Right now, we are attempting to do that during the session under the 50 period in the daily time frame. So again, if we complete here, I think you're going to see a very ugly sell-off, a crash wave 3 that I think could, again, take us down to the lower boundary here. And again, this would measure down. The parallel channel would measure down to the 13,000 area. It's a 90% drop. People dismissing what I'm saying. Oh, that's unreasonable. Bitcoin might drop to 50,000. It might drop to 40,000. But come on, 25,000, 12,000. Come on, it's not going to happen. The second leg down of the bear market is always worse than the first. The first one was 52.5%. 52.5%. I'm being reasonable. The people are telling us, oh no, we're just going to drop 57,000 is the bottom, or 50,000 is the bottom, or maybe we drop down to 45,000. But come on, that's going to be it. Those people are not looking at things objectively, not looking at history, what Bitcoin has done. That the second leg down of the bear market is always worse than the first. They want to come off like they're reasonable when they're dismissing what Bitcoin has done in history. Why I was correct about the crash to kick off the bear market, because that's what Bitcoin's always done. Why am I going to be correct about this next leg down being worse than 52%? Because that's what Bitcoin's always done. So we're about to get a scary drop here. If this wave 2 is done, which it very well could be, we're about to get a very, very scary drop. It's a Friday session. Bitcoin's trying to take out the 50 period moving average again. It got rejection at the 10 and 20, rallying back up into the 10 and 20, and it's now trying to push down off of those levels. So again, possible we have the peak in here. If we see evidence of that, everything flipping back to bearish, taking out the 50 period. We'll see if we close back below it today. We still might go just a little bit higher, but again, as I've said, you're not going to be able to go above the 200 period moving average, really dropping down now below 72,000 at the 71,500 area, just under 71,500. And again, our 50% retracements at 70,000. If we did try to rally higher, you'd likely stall between just above our 38.2 Fibonacci at 67,000, 70,000 area. We may have a peak over here. Told you we were going to crash, take out 60,000 and get a rally back up. So evidence of a bottom. We got back above the 200 period or the 20 period moving average. Told you we were going to have a counter trend, and maybe that counter trend is done. If we get a solid close below the 50 period moving average today, we'll see if signals all begin to turn bearish and our MACD starts moving into the negative region here. We dropped over 30% from when I called the lower high on May 6th, and we've rallied back up now, just over 16.5%. Again, nothing goes straight down. All these people believe that are buying this right here, that bought this sell-off right in here, that bought the bounce, they all believe they're catching the Bitcoin bottom. Like the people back over here at 60,000, just like the people before them at 80,000. They all believe they're catching the Bitcoin bottom. Bitcoin does not care what you believe. Bitcoin does not reward those that believe they're catching the Bitcoin bottom. Bitcoin rewards those that are disciplined and in agreement with Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not reward your hopes, your beliefs. Bitcoin rewards those that are in alignment with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin rewards those that have proper timing. Bitcoin doesn't care about, the whales are buying. Bitcoin doesn't care, the whales are buying, the institutions are buying the Bitcoin ETF. They've been selling, complete opposite to what we keep being told they're doing. Now, you can have strategies, no pun intended, talking about strategy. You can have strategies. You can have Bitcoin indicators. I have great indicators, but, we can have all these things, and we can have our beliefs. Bitcoin doesn't care about my indicators. Bitcoin doesn't care about my strategies. Bitcoin doesn't care about my belief. Bitcoin doesn't care about my hope. You can have all that, but if you enter at the wrong time, Bitcoin will punish you without mercy. Timing is everything. Still in a downtrend. We're still in a confirmed bear market. Nothing has changed. People telling us the bottom is in, the bottom is in. They're the same people that keep telling us the bottom is in all the way down. The bottom was in it over here at 60,000. How'd that work out? I told you we were going to new lows when I called a peak over here on May 6th. Slammed into the 200 period moving average. Warning signs. And then right after I got more warning signs. Saw it validated by the rising wedge breaking down here. So you can see this rising wedge in the larger bear flag, which was the bear market rally. Getting the next leg down of the bear market. This is a counter trend rally, a short-term price fluctuation, a secondary trend against the primary trend, which is down. Again, we've seen the STRC stock collapse. It's rebounded here, but I think the strategy Bitcoin model is broken. I think they're going to continue to have problems, and I think it could be Bitcoin collapse. And again, selling begets selling. Bitcoin sells off. Strategy will have to be forced to sell more Bitcoin. This whole model is going to continue to have problems with this preferred stock with the high dividend. You know, it was strategy putting in. And here it is, MSTR, formerly MicroStrategy, now Strategy. They tipped me off to the top, their stock did, because it diverged with Bitcoin like it did the last time. I talked about this back at the top quite a bit and a little bit on the way down. But again, we got another bear market rally into the declining trend line, and we're turning down. We're breaking down from a head and shoulders pattern. My strategy is going a whole lot lower. I'm saying there could be a black swan event with this. Talked about this back at the top, and when I've talked about it earlier this month and last month, again, people continue to dismiss what I'm saying. But again, it's now being proven correct. Back at the top, I talked about this Bitcoin, that we had this Adam and Eve double top already developing on MicroStrategy or strategy, and it was the same pattern that set up the last top. And strategy had topped long before Bitcoin, about a whole year before Bitcoin here back in late 2024. Bitcoin peaked in late 2025 in October 6th. I marked it right here. And there was a divergence between the two, just like there was back over here. But we had the double top, and that was telling us that Bitcoin was peaking and it was going to collapse. And then we saw the breakdown of the confirmation line with MicroStrategy. We saw Bitcoin begin to collapse. We saw the bear market rally with Bitcoin. That formed a right shoulder evolving into a larger head and shoulders pattern here with strategy. This Adam and Eve double top now evolved into a head and shoulders, as I've marked. We broke down. I talked about this when it happened. I was talking about strategy when this was first happening. This is the weekly chart. This was several weeks ago here. And we're back testing the neckline here. And again, this thing measures down to nearly back to these levels back over here. And again, we've seen, let me pull it up here, almost an 85% drop. And again, it's likely going a much, much lower over here. You didn't bottom until you hit nearly 90%. If we take the measurement of the pattern for MicroStrategy, that's this red line right here, it measures down here to about $19. We just broke 100, breaking this key support level. So again, over here you went down nearly 90%. If we have the head and shoulders play out, it measures down about $19, and it measures down here to the 96.5% level for a drop of 96%. Remember when Amazon crashed during the bursting of the tech bubble, the dot-com crash? It survived. Most of the dot-com stocks did not. Amazon did. Still dropped 93%. So again, I think you're going to see a dramatic drop with the strategy stock. I think you're going to see a lot more selling of their Bitcoin holdings. They have massive unrealized losses, along with Tom Lee and his Ethereum positions in Bitmine. These are the guys that were telling us that Bitcoin was going to surge to the moon. I called the top, and I warned you about the warning signs back at the top. The thing I've said has happened. Experts like Saylor and Mike Lee, all these other experts, all these other moon boys, they were all wrong. The complete opposite has happened to what they told us would happen. We're going to be at 200, 250,000 by the end of 2025. And I told you they'd move it into 2026. They did. And again, with the bear market rally, they told us, oh, we're going to be at 200, 250,000 by the end of summer, as Bitcoin now has crashed 30% and it's now bouncing. These people are clueless to what is going on. I think you're going to see this play out with strategy. I think strategy stock is going to collapse. I think Bitcoin's going to collapse. Nobody thinks this is going to happen. Well, Bitcoin might go down to 50,000. We just bottomed at 57,000. It might go down to 50. It might go down to 40,000. But come on, it's not going to collapse. And again, the second leg of the collapse with Bitcoin is worse than the first. Those of us that are paying attention, say goodbye to the strategy nightmare chart here. Now, what I can tell you with great certainty is that Bitcoin is going to not bottom at 57,000. It's not going to bottom at 50,000. It's not even going to bottom at 40,000. What I can tell you with great certainty is Bitcoin is going at least under 40,000, which is this line right here. It's currently at the 40,000 level. Every single Bitcoin bottom, every single bear market has dropped under that line. Here we dropped under it, bounced, and then we found support at it. Other bear market bottoms have taken it out, And the first one, and you're seeing every single bear market we've had, 93%, 86%, 84%, 78.5%. This bear market may be smaller, open-minded to that, but Bitcoin's going to have some challenges. And it could be we get something like what we had in 2017, where you have the bottom in, it rallies back up, and you come back and get a higher low or even a lower low. Bitcoin may get an extended bear market. Why? Because we're going to have a dot-com style crash in the stock market. Bitcoin's never experienced that in its history. We're going to have an oil shock. By the way, we could see escalation by this weekend here with the U.S. military. Iran continues to strike more military targets, trying to attack the U.S., trying to attack U.S. bases, continuing to strike their Gulf neighbor countries. Could be part of the catalyst for the next leg down. Rising yields, which are soaring today. Again, the Fed, it's believed that the Fed is behind raising rates, and that's going to take Bitcoin lower. I'm telling you, we are at least going below this line at 40,000. We're at least going down under 39,000, and this line is continuing to drop. I think we're going to take out the 200 as we're attempting to do right now, the 200-week moving average, and stay below it. That could be very problematic for Bitcoin going forward. We could see some type of bottom in the fourth quarter, something like here where we bottom out, we get a rally back up, get a higher low later on, and see a rally fall by a big sell-off, like right here it was 71% with the pandemic. As I've said, if we bottom out at a higher level above 15,000, then maybe we get something like this where we rally up and then we go to a new low. So both of those are possible. Again, I don't want to say Bitcoin's going to go into an extended, prolonged bear market because it's never done that. I don't want to make the same mistake that the people that told us Bitcoin was going into the super cycle, which again, I told you was a bunch of poppycock. I'm open-minded to an extended, prolonged bear market. Bitcoin has to prove that it is a possibility. Right now, the 4-year cycle is intact, so we have to believe it's intact until proven otherwise. I can tell you with great certainty is Bitcoin is not going to bottom until the bars turn back to blue and we get back above this line. This line is currently dropping. It's currently at about 72,000. We're dropping right now after bouncing, dropping below the 200-week, the black line getting back above it. We're now turning back down. The bars have been red since the week of the top. I have several indicators that did that. This is not going to end until we see the bars turn back to blue and get back above the line. And as I've continued to point out, when we got rejection at the line over here in the bear market rally, you dropped 68%. And again, I watched another, one of my favorite moon boys yesterday. And again, going through the whole thing, we're going to bottom just slightly under 57,000. And again, people telling us, oh, the 4-year cycle is now almost over. It is, okay, but we still have a significant drop. Boy, I was watching one of my favorite moon boys, by the way, it was Moon Boy number 4. He's in the same camp with Moon Boy number 2, thinking we're going to bottom around 50,000. Most of the Moon Boys are already calling the 57,000 bottom yet again, as they told us at 80,000 and 60,000 and 59,000. They're saying 57,000. Back over here at 99,000 and 105 and 103, that was the bottom. Continuing to tell us to keep buying the dip that keeps on dipping. And again, his whole narrative is, oh, we're right here, we've had this sell-off, we've bounced, and we're going to get this, slightly lower low, and then we're going to bottom. Completely ignore what happened after we had the bear market rally. We dropped 68% before we got that bottom. Here you've only dropped 30%, okay? If we drop down, as we did over here, 68%, you're not going to bottom here at the low 50,000 area. You're not going to bottom. Oh, we're going to bottom. And again, they're saying we're going to bottom around the 200 and 300 week moving average. I predicted this before we ever reached the 200 and 300 week moving average. Told you this is what they would say, and they're saying it. If the Moon Boys were a cryptocurrency, I would be a trillionaire. Everything they say, I've predicted. They would say their predictions, the complete opposite has happened, but my predictions about them have happened spot on. And I'm telling you, we're about to get a significant drop. People that never saw the crash, that never saw the top, that ignored the divergences at the top, now telling us, oh, we have a bullish divergence. Well, you ignored the bearish divergence at the top. Because they're ignoring that the second leg down of the bear market is always worse than the first leg down. Always. Every single bear market we've had with Bitcoin, it's always been worse. The second leg, they're ignoring this drop that happened. And they're saying, oh, no, we're right here. I'm just telling you, if something dramatic happens with Bitcoin, as I expect it's going to, target is between 12 and 13,000, a 90% drop, and 20 to 25,000, which is an 80% drop. I'm open-minded to a smaller bear market, smaller than this one at 78.5%, but indicators are telling me we're at least going down to the 37, 38,000 area. That's a 70% drop. 37,000 is a 70% drop. Not 50,000, not 40, the high 40,000 area, not the low 40,000 area. It's 37 to 38,000, be the minimum if we get a smaller bear market. Recently I posted this chart, and again, having people call me a clown. I posted this chart. They called me a clown back when I called the top and predicted the first leg down, the crash to kick off the bear market. I'm predicting the second leg down of the bear market. And again, same people saying the same stuff, but continue to be blind. And again, over here we dropped 52%. We rallied back up, got a bear market rally, and it's fall by a 68% drop. Okay, the second leg down is always worse than the first. Over here, 52%. Rally back up into the line right here. Again, the bear market rally. Signals turned briefly bullish, right back, reverted right back to bearish. 68% drop takes you down to 25 to 26,000. That's an 80% decline from the peak. That's the upper end of my minimum objective target. Open-minded, smaller bear market, but I have to see evidence of a bottom. See no evidence of a bottom. We're still on a sell signal here, reaffirming the previous sell signal back at the top. They called the top when the top happened, the week of the top. Chart I just showed you, every bar was red since the top. Other indicators that are like that as well. Knowing the week of the top, and they've been bearish ever since. Now, again, I was at the top, I was calling for 60 to 63,000, a 50 to 52% crash, because that's what Bitcoin does. When it kicks off a bear market, it crashes at least 50%. And again, I was shouted down then, being shouted down right now. But when this happens, those of us that are paying attention are going to get the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at a super discount. Still hope right here. Down here, there's going to be no hope. And they're going to say Bitcoin's going to go down to zero. They're going to throw in the towel, and you're going to see capitulation. You're going to see hopelessness. You're going to see extreme fear, and you're going to have people finally selling their Bitcoin at the bottom, is what they always do. Having people that are riding Bitcoin all the way down, just like they rode it down the last bear market. Others have been liquidated, others have been stopped out with losses, others have given back massive gains, and others ride all Bitcoin all the way down and then get so afraid that they'll believe that Bitcoin's going to continue to go down and they'll sell the bottom as they bought the top or bought some of these counter trend rallies along the way. It happens every bear market. My strategy, no pun intended, to ride Bitcoin down until I see evidence of a bottom and then flip the trade and try to catch the Bitcoin bottom and ride it back up for the cycle. But there's still more downside, as I've said, and they're starting crash wave 3. In wave C right now, we managed to go a little bit higher, but we'll be watching how we close out. If we close below the 50-day moving average by the close of the Friday session here.